Hello, and welcome to A God Shift with Shayna Rattler. I am a minister and life coach who helps people partner with God to embrace disruption and confidently enter the next chapter of their life. A God shift is the moment that a disruption in your life collides with God's purpose and moves you into a greater destiny. God uses this disruption to get our attention and invite us into the life that He has planned for us. It's important that we discover what it is that He wants us to see, what we are to learn, and where it is that He needs us next. Today, we are discussing destiny blockers. A destiny blocker is a limiting belief or behavior that can actually sabotage what God has planned for your life. Because it's not enough to focus on just what to do to enhance your God shift. We also must be aware of the most common pitfalls that can prevent us from elevating to the next level. Every believer, regardless of the level of their faith or how long that they've been walking with God, can all fall prey to these habits. Now, there's a lot of them, but let's just cover the most common ones that can prevent you from getting to your destiny. Number one is that you prefer to wait. A lot of us want to change, but we just pray about it and we talk about it, but we wait to do anything about it. Number two, you are comparing yourself to others. And when you are doing that, if you're looking for anything other than inspiration, you can find yourself in a situation where you are actually confusing your assignment with theirs. And then number three, you are looking for things to be comfortable and predictable. And I can tell you that your God shift is not going to be either one. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to meet an amazing woman who is on the other side of her God shift. I'll see you then. Get lost in the pages of our latest book and discover the destiny you were created for. Another dimension of possibility awaits you, but a God shift is required to reveal it and access it. In A God Shift, a divine move from disruption to destiny, Shayna Rattler takes you on the journey of how she turned a once highly successful business that failed fast and left her questioning where God was taking her next into a thriving ministry and fulfilling life that affords her the opportunity to help others grow their faith and successfully navigate the seasons of life. This inspirational guide outlines the steps to confidently put your God shift in motion. Your next chapter is waiting. Are you ready to shift? Grab your copy at agodshiftbook.com. Welcome back. My guest today experienced her own form of a destiny blocker on her journey to where she is today. Let's find out how she did not allow that to get in the way. Welcome to the show, Jasmine Ryans.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad. So let's get into your God shift a little bit. So what form of disruption did God use to get your attention?
There were different type of forms. Beginning in 2019, and all the way up to the beginning of 2020, I lost my home because I was in the process of closing on a home, but I lost my job.
Wow.
And because of the program that I'm in, it required that I be on payroll. So because I lost payroll, I lost the house. And I also had lost my relationship at the time because all the things that I had lost previously had caused me to get into a little depression. And I just didn't feel I was in the right place to be in a relationship with anyone. So I pretty much lost everything and almost had to close my business at the same time. And at that point, it was just like, okay, I don't have anything else but God. And He's like, now I finally have your attention. Now will you listen?
Yeah. Yeah. So was this a marriage? Was it a long-time boyfriend? Talk about that.
So the relationship, it was definitely one that I would say was more on the positive side because I've been in previous relationships where I just knew it would never work. But he definitely was someone that I felt had it been in a different time, in a different season, it would have worked out.
Right.
But it's as the saying goes, you can have something and get it too soon. It can end up being a curse instead of a blessing. So.
Absolutely. So you're just days or weeks away from closing on this house. You have to have a job in order to meet the requirements to close on the house. You lose the job, which means you no longer qualify for the house. What is going through your mind?
I was just thinking, like, what have I done so bad to have to go through all this back to back to back like this? And I just it really caused me to question my faith and just really wonder, like, am I on the right path? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And is this not what I'm supposed to be doing? It just caused a lot of negative and toxic thoughts, just not about God himself, but myself. Like, what was I doing so wrong, or what could I have changed, and things of that nature. But it put me in a really bad place.
Yeah. And so looking back, Jasmine, why did that have to happen in order for you to get to where you are today?
Because eventually I got to a place where I started trying to turn God's plan into my own plan and doing things my own way because it's the way I wanted to. And I was more focused on my preference instead of my purpose. And the only way he could get my attention, unfortunately, was to take away everything that I started putting my trust in, for him to realize, like, at the end of the day, everything that you have is a creation, but they are not the creator. I am.
Absolutely. That's so good. And had that been a pattern for you? Had you realized that you had been doing that before in your life as well?
Yes, for a long time, and I guess this was just like his last time. Like, hey, look, either you're gonna learn from this one, or you're gonna keep going through these cycles. So this was pretty much like the last cycle that I went through, where I was just like, okay, I'm not going through this no more. Like, I know I'm gonna get the things back and get back greater, but I don't want to have to keep going through this. I don't want to have to keep learning this way. I don't want to have to end up just like Jonah, sitting somewhere for 3 days for me to get things right, or a season just to get things right.
Exactly. I say all the time, like, if you don't pass the test, then if you don't get the lesson otherwise, you have to keep getting the same test.
Right.
And there have been times in my life that I'm like, okay, Lord, I learned that lesson. I don't need you to test me in that way,
right,
or in that area of my life again. You know, I got it. And so did you find that when you look at where you are today, do you find that you figure out what's going on, get the information, hear what God says, and then act more quickly?
Yes, I'm in a position now where I'm giving God a yes consistently every day, not just when he gives me the vision or the provision of what he wants me to do, because sometimes I can give him a yes that day, and then as time progresses, it's just like, okay, going back to what I know, what I'm familiar with. But when it comes to following God, he always has you walking in uncharted territory, walking in the unknown, and that's when your faith really gets tested. And I realized that the road that he has for me and the path that he has for me is not going to be something that I'm used to seeing, and I have to get used to the unknown and be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes. You know what is really funny is that we've actually talked about that on an episode of The God Shift. We've talked about when you're going to grow, you know, you're always going to find yourself in places in life that are uncomfortable. But everything we already know, and the capacity that we already have, and everything that we're already capable of is inside of that current comfort zone.
Right.
So if we desire to do more, if we desire to be more, have more, usually what we already have, we still need a little bit more. So we've got to actually get outside of that comfort zone in order to be able to do that. So good for you of saying, like, I don't have to keep going through this. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to find out exactly how Jasmine has been able to overcome some of the challenges that she was experiencing. See you then. Are you looking for ways to support the God Shift movement and others in need? Grab one of our premium tees at agodshift.com/shop, and we will donate 20% of the sales to the National Christian Foundation. These t-shirts are made of 100% premium soft cotton, come in white women's fit and black traditional fit, and are available in sizes extra small through 4X. It's time to embrace disruption, collide with God's purpose, and confidently shift into the next chapter of your life. Share your shift with the world by proudly wearing a God Shift t-shirt. Grab one for yourself and those you love at agodshift.com/shop. Welcome back. Before the break, Jasmine was sharing with us how she went through a point in her life where she lost everything. Her house, her relationship, and everything that she thought she was going to do. Let's find out a little bit more about her story. So Jasmine, as you were going through this, tell me a little bit about what was the biggest challenge that you were facing during this time?
The biggest challenge for me was convincing myself and realizing that even though I'm going through this, it's only temporary. And I'm not what I'm going through. Like, this is just a part of my journey, a part of the season that I'm going through at this moment. So I would say it was really hard for me to just come to grips with that the Lord wasn't just targeting me and trying to punish me and just being, I guess, evil or trying to punish me for no apparent reason. Like, it was just really a part of the process. Because trials and tribulations are inevitable. And we all know that, but when we go through them, it just doesn't register at the time when you're going through it. And realizing that I'm just going through this. I'm not staying in this. I don't have to live in this. This is just something that I have to pass through.
Here's what I find amazing. You know, you're a young lady, and to have that level of wisdom. So for you to be able to recognize what it is that I'm going through is not my identity. It has nothing to do with who I am. Was that something that you had heard? Was that something that someone told you? Like, what gave you that level of revelation?
It was from listening to different sermons and different speakers that I've heard, mostly, and shameless plug to Destiny Inspire, because the one thing that she's always speaking about is knowing your identity, knowing who God is and knowing who you are in His eyes and in His sight, because our life situations don't make us. Who we are isn't what we do. Like, yes, we have different positions and different purposes in life, but who we are at the end of the day has nothing to do with the things that we are involved in. So just realizing that I am not that house that I lost. I'm not that relationship. I'm not a failure. That's just an event that took place in my life. So just getting past that and knowing that I am a child of God and that I was created for greatness, and whatever I go through, I'm going to get through it because I'm an overcomer.
Yeah, that's so good. And she hit on something that is so key of how important it is that you know who you are before you go through something. Because when you're clear on who you are and what God has said about you and what God has promised you, it can really put yourself in a position where when a destiny blocker comes in, you can easily shake it off. When disruption comes into your life, you can easily get past it because you can say, I know that this doesn't have anything to do with who I am or what it is that I am doing. So tell me this, Jasmine, as you were going through this scenario in your life, how was your faith or your relationship with God affected during this God shift?
I would say, and just being honest and transparent, at first, I was beefing with God. Like, I didn't want to have anything to do with Him. I didn't want to talk to Him. I didn't want to pray. I was like, forget this. This isn't working. I was like, I might as well stay in the world if I'm going to be going through all these troubles.
Right.
But my spirit and my soul would not just let it be. Like I said, like just knowing who I am truly and having an understanding of that, my soul wouldn't allow me to just forget about it.
Yeah.
And I would just have those moments where I'm like, okay, God, I'm talking to you today, but I'm still mad. And just being open and honest and letting Him know, because that's what He wants. He wants us to talk to Him. He wants to know where we are, how we really feel. And just let Him know that I do trust you. This is just how I feel right now.
Right. And I love that you can just be real with Him, you know, because our walk with Him is not always going to be peaches and cream. You know, if anything, it's sometimes harder, you know, because when the enemy knows that you have that level of grounding in yourself, and he knows that you have that level of grounding in your faith and your relationship with God, he's going to do everything he can, you know, to try to interrupt that. And so how long would you say that process lasted when you're like, listen, I don't even want to talk to you. I just want you to know I'm talking to you, but I don't really want to talk to you.
I remember because the last day I allowed myself to feel like that, I had recorded a video, and it was in April, so the second quarter. So this April coming up will make a year since I decided. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to change my perspective. I'm changing my mindset. I'm changing the way I talk, because I have control and power over what I see and how I allow things to happen.
Yeah.
Even if I can't change it, I can change my attitude towards it and how I see it and how I move.
Right.
So
that's so good. So for somebody who is listening to the show today and they're like, well, I want to do that. I want to change how I think. I want to change how I talk. I want to change how, you know, I view things. What would you tell them? Like what is like one thing that they can do to try to make that happen?
Make up in your mind that that is exactly what you want to do. Because once you change your mind, you change your life.
Wow.
And I realized that regardless of whatever I was going through, God was still God. And this world is always changing, but God never changes.
Yeah.
And keeping that in the forefront of my mind, and whatever situation I go through from this day forward is just something that I'm going through. I'm not staying in it. I'm not living in it, because this isn't where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely. That's so good. She talked about changing your mind, because it all starts in your mind, because your beliefs become your thoughts, and then your thoughts become your actions, and then your actions become your reality. So if you're not thinking right, the word says that so a man thinketh is he. So if you're not thinking right, whether you've got stinking thinking because you're believing bad things and thinking bad things, or whether you're just not thinking in a positive direction or thinking too small, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to where it is that you need to be. So we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what's going on in Jasmine's life today. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, I am so excited to share something really cool with you. There's an organization called Black Christian Influencers that has some amazing people, some that you may know, some that you may not, but they all are doing some amazing work in the kingdom. So if you can, go on over to the page at Black Christian Influencers, or you can visit the website at www.blackchristianinfluencers.com.
Prisoner of Hope introduces The Vault, a membership community offering a library of videos designed to prepare and support you.
Many others, including myself, have gone through the long battle with the American justice system and have come out on the other side.
The Vault was created by families impacted by incarceration, along with experts. We know how to help because we've experienced it firsthand.
Remember, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel.
It's time to unlock your freedom in The Vault. Sign up now at prisonerofhopetv.com.
Welcome back. Let's find out a little bit about the amazing life that Jasmine has been able to create for herself on the other side of her drastic God shift. So Jasmine, tell the audience, as you were going through this God shift, what did you learn?
I have learned who God really was or is. I have been able to restore and rebuild and strengthen my relationship with Christ outside of what the traditional churches teach you about religion, but really knowing Him and seeing Him work in my life and the life of those around me, and seeing how intentional He is, and just planning out my life when I allow Him to plan out my life and just allow Him to be God.
Yeah, you hit on something that is so key, is like the relationship is so much more important than the religion. It's so much more important than, the structure and the do's and the don'ts. All of those things don't matter at the end of the day when you are flat on your face like, Lord, what in the world is going on?
Right.
And what is it that I'm supposed to be? What am I supposed to be doing? So who are you now?
I am happy first and foremost, and I'm still learning. Be a forever student or a disciple, if you will, for Christ, and a follower of Christ. At this point in my life, I just want to be able to be the fisher of men that He called all of us to be, but be able to do it in an unorthodox and untraditional way, using the gifts and talents and my own personality. So as of right now, He's called me to the more so on the entrepreneur side for ministry, and be able to use my business as a way to reach people and to be able to tell them about Christ through health and beauty.
Absolutely. So you lost your job and you lost your house, but now you have an amazing business. Tell us about it.
So I am the CEO and founder of a company called Soul Tree. It is a faith-based company. We are all inclusive, meaning we service men and women, and we produce exclusive health and beauty products, which include hair, beard, and skincare products. And we recently just pivoted to selling to more so businesses outside of just clients. So we service spa, boutiques, grooming lounges, and barbershops and things of that nature.
So that's why your skin is flawless.
Yeah, that's why I look 12.
Yes, that's why I look 12.
All of our skincare products have anti-aging benefits. So
awesome. So as we begin to wrap up, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is experiencing a similar situation?
I would say, if I could give any advice, is to just trust God and trust the process. Because what I've learned from the things that I've lost and the situations that I've been through is God never called us to be perfect.
Yeah.
He just called us to be able to give Him a yes. And whatever that looks like is going to be different for everybody's life. And He will show you where He wants you to go. And every day, more and more, He'll reveal more of your purpose, because a lot of people get caught up and get depressed over their purpose, and it kind of puts them in a depressed state. And seeing how stuff pans out and situations kind of go awry, it's all a part of the plan. And we have to realize that our lives are not our lives. We're just vessels. We're just being used by God. And whatever pain we're going through isn't in vain. Everything that we go through, including the pain, is for a purpose.
Absolutely.
And your pain is going to help somebody else in their healing. And just realizing that, I had to realize that whatever I was going through, it wasn't for just any reason. It was to help somebody else to get out of whatever situation you're going through. So realizing that you're going through it, you're not living in it, and the pain and the situations and the trials and tribulations that you're going through are to better and to help somebody else and to serve someone else, because we're all supposed to be servant leaders.
Yes, that's what it's all about. And that's the primary reason that I do this show. Obviously I want to have kingdom impact and eternity impact, but I'm really hoping that as people watch these episodes of this show, that they're able to see themselves inside of someone else's story, and that they are able to recognize that there is hope on the other side of their disruption, and they can still get to their destiny. Like, it's not too late, or whatever those things are. We're talking about destiny blockers, whatever those limiting beliefs are that they have, that nothing can get in the way of what God has for you if they're willing to adopt the attitude that you have. And you are such an amazing and beautiful person inside and out. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy to see the business that you're in. And I feel like the Lord wants you to know that it's time to go full throttle. So there's something that has been causing you to take your foot off the gas, and whether it's a distraction or whether it's a doubt, or whether it's internal or external, whatever it is that has caused you to pause, it's now time for you to go home and put your foot back on the gas and go full throttle. Okay. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I can't wait to watch it.
You're welcome. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On today's show, our guest Jasmine shared how at one point in her life she lost almost everything and how she ultimately ended up deepening her faith, and she has now created an amazing life and an amazing business. Destiny blockers are almost always disguised in some form of fear or inadequacy. So do not get in your own way and allow these types of habits to keep you stuck in where you are now. You have to push those things to the side, get them out of your way, and move to where it is that God needs you next. So along your God shift path, if you feel like you are not getting the traction that you would expect, one of these destiny blockers is probably at play. If your life is full of unexpected circumstances and you want to get unstuck into where God needs you next, download our free guide, When God Says Shift, at GodSaysShift.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you will join us back here next week. See you then. Bye-bye.